introduction include? What should you start with? A dramatic opener of some sort, okay? So what could that dramatic opener be? And if you guys think you need to, please write this down, okay? When I write on the board, you write on paper. Now some of you would like totally have this, and so I'm not going to expect you to take notes. But if you still think you're lost, you should be writing this down. Yes, Ayla.
Question.
It could be a question. What else? Yes.
A shocking statement.
Okay. Shocking statement. And a good thing to use in literary openers is a quote from the story that you're talking about, okay? Choose an exciting or dramatic quote to start with, okay? So you want to start with something interesting. You also need to have what on top of your paper? A title, and it should be an interesting title, okay? Where can you get inspiration for your title? Josiah, you know this. I don't think you like this, but you know this.
Clincher.
Yes.
Paragraph.
You're going to look in your clincher, your final dramatic closing, and you're going to choose a couple words, and you're going to play with mixing them around and come up with something interesting. Okay? So you need to come up with a dramatic title, and you can look in your clincher for inspiration. Okay? Or at least in your final paragraph for inspiration on how to do that. Doing okay this morning, Silas? You're looking a little tired. Okay. All right. So we have a dramatic opener. What do we have in the middle here?
Thesis and topics.
Well, thesis goes here. Okay. Sort of.
Oh wait, background.
Background information. Okay. So you're going to say something like, the most dangerous game written by Richard Connell and blah, 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 explores the ideas of what it means to be human and, something like that. You're going to talk about some sort of theme. Okay? So background info on the author and the actual title of the book or of the story, and then you might, comment on a theme, some idea that's expressed. Okay? Your thesis, and you all turned in your thesis, and all of you had a good thesis. It's going to talk about how many literary techniques? Two. Okay? So your first paragraph is going to be only about which technique? The first one. So if in your thesis you talked about foreshadowing, which most of you did, and your second technique was imagery, this paragraph, you're going to have a topic sentence, and it's going to mention something about foreshadowing. Okay, TS stands for topic sentence. This paragraph, your topic sentence, is going to mention something about imagery and how it's used to create suspense. Are you going to talk about likable characters or foreboding words or short, simple sentences in this paragraph? No. No. Okay, there are so many techniques, but in your paper, you may only mention 2. I don't want you to mention any other techniques besides the 2 that you chose. Okay? Don't even think about mentioning any other techniques besides the 2 that you chose. So everything in this paragraph needs to be about foreshadowing. Okay? So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to give it an anchor. Okay? Who can tell me what an anchor is? Yes, sir.
Well, it's like where it takes place in the story.
Right. So during Whitney and Rainsford's conversation on the raft, we hear an interesting conversation. No, not we, because that would be bad, right? The reader overhears an interesting conversation. Okay? So that's our anchor. Now you included your anchor and your quotes together, which worked, which was interesting, but it wasn't exactly following the directions, and so I tried to think, should I tell her not to do it this way? But it worked, so there you go. Okay, so with that anchor then, you're going to have your quote. Okay, now you're not going to say, just put the quote and that's your whole sentence, one. Okay? Oh, and you're not going to say erase what it said and then put your quote, right? What are you going to do?
Quotation blend.
Quote blending, right. Do you have to use the entire quote? No. You get to use only the words that you want, okay? You can totally twist it and make it be something that it's not, like everyone in like journalism does, okay? You could just take the information you want and toss the rest out, okay? Quote. And then you're going to have 1 to 3 sentences of what?
How it makes the reader feel.
How it makes the reader feel. It's called commentary. Okay? And what words are you going to avoid? I, me, my, mine, you, we, us, those ones, okay? Personal pronouns. You're going to use things like the reader, one. Mostly it's going to be the reader, okay? The reader. Now, one thing you need to be careful of is if you use the reader, then you need to use either he or she to go with it. You wouldn't say, the reader feels that they, blah, 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 because reader is one person and they is plural, right? So if you use the reader, you have to use he or she, which is sometimes awkward. So I always use readers because then I can use the word they. Okay, that's just a little, because it's very awkward. I think one of you, I changed it in your paper and you have it, I think it was yours, Kyla, and I put she, because you're the reader, you're she. But, so you have to make sure that matches. If you use reader, you have to use he or she. When you're referring back to that reader, if you use readers, you can use they. All right? And then we repeat. We have another anchor, preferably with transition words. Okay? A second quote, where we use quote blending, and then 1 to 3 sentences of commentary. Okay, and then we're going to end with the clincher, which, how do we come up with our clincher? Logan, you're awfully quiet this morning.
Look at your introduction sentence.
Our topic sentence, yeah, our topic sentence, and we're going to repeat or reflect 2 to 3 key words from the topic sentence, okay? Repeat, reflect, 2 to 3 key words from topic sentence. Okay. So then we're going to have an entire second paragraph. Oh, and both of these examples have to do with what?
Foreshadow.
Foreshadow. Okay. So we're going to have an entire second paragraph. It's going to follow the exact same pattern, and both of our examples and quotes have to be about imagery. Okay? And then what 3 things to do. See, it's really simple. You just have to like put all the puzzle pieces in. Okay? Just follow it exactly. Doesn't even have to be like all fancy and stylistic. Okay? Just follow the puzzle pieces, stick them in the paper where they go. And each of these is a paragraph. Okay? So that means you're just going to indent it once. At the front of there, we're going to have an indentation here, we're going to have an indentation here, and an indentation here. The whole paper is double spaced, and you don't put extra spaces between paragraphs. Okay? All right. Clincher. First thing we're going to do is restate or revisit our topic sentence. Okay, so we're just saying it, we're saying our, excuse me, not topic. We're restating our thesis in different words, okay? And you can even break it into 2 sentences to make it longer, okay? Then we're going to kind of talk about what is most important and why, maybe discuss some themes. I can't remember how the book phrased that. How did this book phrase what you're supposed to put there? Conclusion.
She summed it up into 3 things. She said, revisit the thesis, extend your essay's ideas, or make the essay finished.
Okay, extend your essay's ideas. So that's the most important and why. I like to say what's most important and why, okay? Because it makes you guys write more, okay? And then make it feel finished. I always say leave your reader with something to think about, okay? Leave reader with something to ponder. Could be about the value of human life. It could be about animals having feelings. I don't know. It could be whatever you want. Because are there wrong answers? Not really, because this essay is your evaluation, right? Are there wrong ways to do it? Yes, okay. So we have to follow this pattern, okay? It will help you. It helps you to clearly elucidate your ideas. All right? So, some of you have very minimal revisions to make, okay? Some of you have a little bit more, okay? But none of you have like to start from scratch, okay? So I think everyone has at least turned in a rough draft to me. And so some of you have a little bit more than others. So this next Friday, your final draft is due. But if that final draft isn't quite like up to snuff and you still need more work, this is kind of one of those things like you have to learn how to do long division, right? And you have to keep learning it until you know how to do it. We're going to keep learning this until you know how to do it. So if your rough draft, if your final draft isn't really a final draft and it needs more work, then you just have another week to work on it, okay? That doesn't mean I want you to do a bad job this next week, because I want you to be done and over with this, okay? And then we're going to move on to, and we are moving on right now, too much ado about nothing, which is right here. You have your books? You want to have a book?
I have one, but I forgot to read it.
I can share.
Oh, that's awfully nice, Josiah. Do you have a book? Silas?
Two
Hasn't
copies.
come yet? Bummer. Okay.
Mine is different.
Oh, remember I said you have to have this one?
Yeah, I thought it was that one, but I guess not. I'll get my mom to get it.
Okay, get your mom to get it, because we're going to be talking about page numbers, okay? And yours, I don't think has commentary. Yeah, yours doesn't tell you like in nice like regular English on one side. See, look at mine.
Yeah.
Here we have the Shakespeare side. Here we have normal English side.
Yeah.
And so that's super helpful.
Now I get it.
Okay. All right. 2-day shipping. Amazon. Order today.
Okay, I will.
Okay. Everyone, oh look at you guys all follow the directions. You've all got books except for the boys' table. So this is what?
I'm
You even got the book.
confused why we have to have two copies, because I
have
have
to
the
have two
blue one
copies.
and the yellow one.
Okay, I'll tell you why. The blue one I bought last time I taught this, and it has some really racy comments, like really bad, like in the English commentary that made me go, oh, and I just felt like I could assign that to kids. So that's fine. Okay, the blue copy was nice, but it had some really like R-rated stuff, X-rated stuff in the commentary, and that wasn't good. Okay, that's fine. I hope this one doesn't. I was thinking about that on the way here, because I haven't read this one. But I've used this particular version of lots of Shakespeare, and I've never noticed X-rated stuff before. So I'm hoping the yellow version does not have that. If it does, I apologize in advance. Okay, so we are done with Most Dangerous Game. Okay, so note that the Most Dangerous Game essay is your last assignment on the first quarter. So as soon as that is done and turned in, you will get your first quarter grade. Okay? So for a short period of time, you're going to have two Google Classrooms going. You're going to have a first quarter classroom and a second quarter classroom. Raise your hand if you've already joined the second quarter classroom.
I
accidentally
joined.
I accidentally joined in my mom's account, so
Oh.
I need to. I kind
Can
of
you undo it? Okay, yeah, yep, I can do that. I'll just like kick your mom out and then you join. Okay. So you did? Good? You didn't know what I'm talking about? Okay. Make sure you're checking the Google Classroom because I made that announcement several days ago. Okay? Yes,
I
ma'am.
joined, but I don't. My email won't show up in the classroom, so I don't know.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to look at it and see. Thank you for letting me know that. I know we have a little bit of time to get things worked out. And I'm actually going to move the Shakespeare assignment into that. So you'll see some weird stuff and you might be getting things back. Like last week you probably got a thesis back and something else back that was like old and you got to like report that I changed the grade or something. That was because I was like playing with figuring out how to do the grades in Google Classroom. So, because always before when I've done your grades, I've had the Google Classroom and then I've had to move all of them individually into a spreadsheet to figure out your grades, and I figured out how to do it in Google Classroom, so it's going to save me tons of time. But that's why we have to have two classrooms, because otherwise it just averages all your grades for the year and not for the quarter. What? It'll be 4 by the end of the year. Yep. So we'll have 1 per each quarter. Okay. So I'm going to put this. So we're not going to revisit this book, I don't think, until right before Christmas break, or after Christmas break, because we're going to take a break. We're going to only do much ado about nothing. All right. Who has read Shakespeare before?
It pains me.
Okay, so 3 of you have not read any Shakespeare. Britta, you have? No?
No.
No, 4. So almost half the class has not read any Shakespeare before. It pains you. Shakespeare was awesome.
Well, you had us read Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet is awesome. Romeo and Juliet. You have to have it. Okay, so Romeo and Juliet is a tragedy. It's just really, really sad. This one actually is comedy. It's actually a common tragedy. Okay, it's a common tragedy. Okay, so one really cool thing about Shakespeare is he, in his tragedies, makes them funny, and in his comedies, makes them sad. Okay, so this one's gonna be a common tragedy, and there's gonna be some real tragic stuff that happens in it, but it all's gonna work out good in the end. Okay, what did you learn about Shakespeare? Tell me what you learned, and then I'm gonna try to remember what I was gonna tell you. Okay, Brandon.
410 copies of remakes have been made of his plays.
Okay, so that means they're good and there's all sorts of remakes, and not only remakes, but lots of even cartoons and things take on the themes of Shakespeare, of Macbeth and Julius Caesar and Romeo and Juliet in particular. Okay, what else did you learn, Ayla? Everyone gets to share.
That there's a lot of sayings that we say nowadays that we don't even realize that's part of Shakespeare's plays that came from Shakespeare.
Right, Shakespeare invented things like as good luck would have it, bated breath, the brave new world, break the ice, crack of doom, crack of dawn, dead as a doornail.
The one that I was really shocked by was vanished into thin air.
Oh yeah. Let me see here.
Star-crossed lovers.
Star-crossed lovers.
Which is not what we think it is. I feel a lot of people think that's people are destined to be.
No.
It's not.
No, it means that their fates are not going right because of the stars or whatever, okay? Let's see, Good Riddance, Heart of Gold. Some of them I don't even know. Hoist with his own petard. In my heart of hearts. Wild Goose Chase, exactly, okay? So it's said that the normal person, like you and me, we use 17,000 words on a regular basis in our life, where Shakespeare used 36,000. Okay, his vocabulary was amazing. Eat me out of house and home. Have you heard that? Your parents have probably said that about you, especially if you're a teenage boy. Okay? Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. Love is blind. The livelong day. Laughing stock. One fell swoop. I use that all the time. Set my teeth on edge. In my mind's eye. Kill with kindness. Okay? It's funny when I read these. Knock knock who's there is from Macbeth originally. Okay? All of these things my grandma said all the time. And you know what? I have to tell you, I am certain my grandma never ever read Shakespeare once. But she said all this stuff. And so it's just very much part of our language. He's helped to craft the English language. Okay, off my soapbox about that. Okay, so we're going to talk about Shakespeare's language here in a little bit. But what else did you learn? Yes, Josiah.
Well, the words he came up with was he came up with the word bandit, critic, dauntless, lackluster, and stuff. And never really think of how much of the words that we use today are.
Right, so we have sayings that he made and also just actual vocabulary, actual words. What else, Logan? You want to answer fast because otherwise someone's going to take your idea.
So I have some more words that he made up, which were assassination, bump, eventful, go between, gloomy, and lonely.
Okay, yeah. Gloomy and lonely, I mean those are normal words. And those are all from Shakespeare. Silas, did you learn anything about Shakespeare?
Well, he got married when he was 18.
Okay, good, which was very, very common, and his wife was older.
Yeah, 8 years older.
Yeah, and the only thing he left her in his will was his second best bed. Don't know. And they did not live together for most of their married life. Anything else?
Not really.
Okay. Sarah. Oh, you didn't do this. Kylie.
He died the same day he was born, 50 years later.
Yeah, interesting. Sophia.
Well, I learned that he had 3 kids, which I didn't know. So that was cool.
Okay, and actually, You're going to tell me the important thing about his kids.
The youngest two were twins, and the boy twin died of the plague.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he wrote a ton of tragedies.
Right, because for the longest time he was in such deep despair that he wrote tragedies. So it wasn't until the end of his life that he started to get back into writing comedies. And he wrote, his main three genres were comedy, tragedy, and you know another thing? Historical. And he usually didn't just make the ideas up in his head. He always had some sort of source. He was well read. He always had some sort of source, some like it's like someone writing historical fiction. He was the historical fiction writer of his day. So like Julius Caesar, Macbeth, all of those are based on true historical events, but they're not true. Okay, so you can't read Julius Caesar in the hopes of learning actual true facts about Caesar. Okay, you can learn some. Same thing with Macbeth. There's lots of like King Duncan and all this. There was a real King Duncan, but it was very, very different than the way he did it in his story. Just like people today, right, do movies of real historical events and they change them to make them more exciting. Like Greatest Showman. I went back and researched all of that. It was very, very different than the movie as far as the way everything turned out, and he was way older and
He got like married twice, I think. He had a different wife than the one in the movie. And there's a lot of
there's a lot of differences. Okay, so a lot of things really different. I was going to read to you, this is a previous student's Shakespeare assignment that they did. And the thing I want you to focus on is that we still read Shakespeare 400 years later. Why? Okay, why? Why do your teachers make you read this stuff? Why do people still like it? Okay, William Shakespeare, because it's not just school. I mean, people actually do like it. Okay, it's like there's some stories like I will never make anyone read Of Mice and Men. It's just horrible. It's horrible, and I don't know why people make students read that because it sucks. Okay, but William Shakespeare is really great. William Shakespeare is one of the most recognized and best literary known writers ever. Most recognized for his plays, William Shakespeare was also a poet and an actor. He is considered to be the greatest writer of the English language, and his works have been translated into every major living language. What's a dead language? You guys know?
Latin.
Very good. Okay, and there's other languages that no longer exist. Most of his works were said to be written between 1589 and 1613. As a young playwright, he mostly produced comedies and histories, but as his life changed and he became more experienced, he began writing mostly tragedies such as Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, and King Lear. Near the end of his career, he collaborated, nice word choice, with other playwrights to create romances, also known as tragic comedies. Okay? There is little known about who Shakespeare really was. This is interesting. I wonder if any of you guys found this. Some want to take away his works and give them to other people, more educated or more qualified for the task of playwriting. Okay, so that whole thing is that some people, he didn't have the education that he didn't have enough education to really be able to write this way. So he could have just been extremely gifted, okay? Or he could have been a totally different person altogether. Because the people that were more educated and more noble and like higher class, it was not considered honorable to write plays. Okay, so it could have been Sir Walter Raleigh or someone in the Queen's court that actually wrote them, and then Shakespeare was like their hired front person to pretend to be them, and basically they wrote the plays and he was the face because it was not high class to write plays. That's just a conspiracy theory. Who knows? Okay, it's just an idea out there that Shakespeare wasn't really Shakespeare. He just was kind of the face of Shakespeare. Okay. See, it's like cool. Shakespeare was a very diverse person. He was a merchant, so he had dealings with the rich and wealthy and also the poor and lowly. Okay. That was influential in his plays because it allowed him to accurately portray both classes. He was very, very present in the Queen's court, okay? And the King, King James and Queen Elizabeth, Queen Victoria. I can't remember. I think it's Victoria. Okay, so King James and Queen Victoria. And very, very present at court. Frequently they did the plays in the palace or the castle or whatever, okay? This was influential in his plays because he accurately could portray both classes. He was kind of middle class, but because he was middle class, he had dealings with low class and he had dealings with high class, okay? Although it was considered something that only the lower classes participated in. Well, the wealthy went to plays. They just had the more expensive seats, okay? Shakespeare's plays were so well done that even the Queen was known to come watch them. The works of William Shakespeare are commonly recognized as the best in English literature. All right, so that's just a good focus. Now, did we learn a lot about his life in this? No, he didn't even tell us when he was born or died, okay? But is that fine?
Yeah.
Why? Because what did he do?
Told us why we still read about him and stuff.
Right, tell us why he was important, okay? And that's the really thing. So we're going to do author profiles probably later on in the year. And I want you to tell me why they're important. Kind of the why should I care? I don't really care when he was born or died, okay? Which is fun, okay? Fun information, especially because he was born and died on the same day. But what I want you to dig into is why was he important, okay? Why should we care about his writing? What difference did it make in the world? Okay. Somewhere I have a lesson plan. Okay, so we're going to do a little activity, a little in-class activity at your tables. And you are going to, this is Shakespearean language on this side, okay? Plain English on this side. So you are going to work together to match them, okay? And try to interpret what they're saying. Truly happy. Okay. When I do name him, let it be thy part to praise him more than ever man did merit. My talk to thee must be how Benedick is sick in love with Beatrice. All right, what does that one mean, Brenna?
When I talk about him, it is your job to say really good things about him. My job is to talk about how much Benedick is in love with Beatrice.
Okay, so those are going to be two of our main characters. Okay, we're going to have two different couples in our story, Benedick and Beatrice, who hate each other, but really don't hate each other. And we're going to have Hero and Claudio, who are like love at first sight, ridiculous, like drama, like soap opera. Like Caesar falls in love with her the minute he sees her. Okay. If thou dost love, my kindness shall incite thee to bind our loves up in a holy band. For others say thou dost deserve, and I believe it better than reportingly. Sarah.
If you really love me, I can finally express my love to you and we can get married. Other people are telling me that you do love me, and I believe that you do, even more than they say.
See, isn't Shakespeare so much more fun than that? There is a kind of merry war betwixt Signor Benedick and her. They never meet, but there's a skirmish of wit between them. Silas.
Beatrice and Benedict seem to like fighting whenever they get together. They always try to outdo each other with jokes.
See, that's just not nearly as much fun as saying it the way Shakespeare said it. A miracle. Here's our own hands against our hearts. Kylan?
Anything what we've written shows our true feelings.
I think...
Wait, I am
no.
so amazed.
Yes,
Speechless.
I'm so amazed I'm speechless. No, actually, it's the other way around. Amazing, what we've written shows our true feelings. You were right, Kylan. Yes, sorry. Amazing, what we've written shows our... I don't have answers on here. I'm just kind of looking at it. Okay, I love this. For my part, I'm so attired in wonder. Isn't that great? That's much better than saying amazed. Attired in wonder. Because amazed is just a plain old boring adjective. Attired in wonder is an action verb, okay? So much better. I know not what to say. What does that go with, Kylan? What you just said, Sophia?
Where are we?
Very last one.
Oh. That goes with I'm so amazed I'm speechless.
Yes, yes. Very good. All right, so that's just a little practice with Shakespearean language for you. Not too difficult. Okie dokie. So I'm going to hand out this who's who. So one thing, particularly in Much Ado About Nothing, but in all of Shakespeare's plays, is there are a lot of characters, okay? And they have, in this particular story, they all have relationship to each other, sometimes in multiple ways. Sometimes we've got servants, sometimes we have family members, or we have superiors, okay? So this is our who's who, the characters. I would fold this and put this in the front of your book. Now in your book there is a page that says who everyone is, okay? So it should be right in the front of the book. Let's see. It's got characters. So first we learn about Shakespeare and the Globe Theater, which is really awesome. Much Ado About Nothing. This was staged twice for Princess Elizabeth's engagement and marriage. At the time of the staging, it was titled Benedick and Beatrice. It's a traditional European story of a lover who is tricked into believing that his beloved has been unfaithful. Let's see, I'm looking for the characters. Page 23, it has like a whole little character list for you. So that is also helpful. But in a nutshell, we have Benedict and Beatrice, okay? They are like acquaintances. They actually, are they family? No, they're not family, okay? They hate each other and they love each other, okay? You can see that between their names. And then we have Claudio and Hero, okay? Claudio and Hero Claudio and Benedict are great friends. They both are soldiers who are under Don Pedro, okay? Don Pedro is their commander, and Claudio falls madly in love with Hero the minute he sees her, okay? Hero and Beatrice are cousins, I believe. Hero is also the daughter of Leonardo, who is the governor, okay? And like it shows there, Claudio loves Hero. We have a villain. Okay, we have Don Pedro, who is the good commander, which he causes lots of problems. But we also have a villain named Don John. Okay, what a great name for a villain. And he has his sidekick, who is Conrad. Okay, and Baraccio. Who's Baraccio? Don John's servant and Margaret's lover. Okay, so Margaret is a servant to Hero, as is Ursula. And then we have all these side people down there on the bottom right corner. Dogberry, who is like the little sheriff guy, and he is like the comic relief, okay? Nothing he says makes sense, but it's hilarious, okay? And Verges and Seacole are his like sidekicks, okay? And Beatrice is the niece of Leonardo. So you're gonna wanna kind of keep in track of who everyone is. There's an army, and they are passing through the village of Messina. And back in this time, if the army passed through, the king or the governor or whatever would basically say, hey, stay over for a month, okay? And so they're staying in the town of Messina for a month. And I guess no one has to work. So that is kind of the who's who. But keep this, because you're gonna lose track of who's who, okay? So that's really, really important to know who you're reading about. All right, so we're going to talk first, so I don't get to it, we're going to talk first about your assignments for the week, and then hopefully get to read a little bit about What You Do About Nothing. First, I'm going to read you an introduction. Love, villainy, friendship, parent-child relationships, society, and customs. Much Ado About Nothing touches on all of these. It presents a rich, ambiguous blend of life's relationships, folly, and catastrophe. Shakespeare introduces us to a group of people who have a past with each other that is immediately apparent as soon as Beatrice asks the messenger if all the soldiers are returned from the war. So the soldiers are coming in, they have been there before, everyone knows each other already. Okay, that's important. This is not a casual inquiry. Beatrice's question marks feelings that she does not yet comprehend. She and Benedict are attracted to each other but do not know how to deal with these feelings, and so they just like totally insult each other all the time. It's like a battle of wit. The relationship of Beatrice and Benedict is counterposed to the more traditional relationship of Hero and Claudio, who fall in love at first sight. Claudio, having returned from war, now has the leisure and desire to marry Hero. He's concerned about her social and economic position, how others perceive her, however, because it would be very much, you have to be very concerned about your reputation during this time. And so he's a little bit concerned that she's going to wreck his reputation. And of course, women had to maintain the utmost of propriety, and men not so much. Okay? He has Benedict what he thinks. He also allows the Duke to intervene on his behalf. So instead of going to Hero and saying, you're the most beautiful woman, I love you, will you marry me? He sends someone else to go and like woo her for him, and that causes all sorts of miscommunication. Okay? He is a proper, somewhat distant lover. Meanwhile, Hero is cautioned by her father to obey his will when it comes to the choice of a husband. This is just the beginning of complications involving two sets of lovers, giving the audience and the readers a hint of the rich variety of human motives and relationship. Okay, so I already told you this is not a comedy, it's a tragic comedy, okay? It's not a traditional comedy. Instead, there is potential to turn into tragedy. Comedy is made up of complications, but in this play, the complications could be disastrous. Therefore, before reading the play, discuss with the students the nature of comedy and tragicomedy, which we just said. So it's not just a bunch of funniness that's going to end with no one getting hurt. People could really get hurt if things go wrong in this. We talked about the characters. Okay, so we are going to talk about what you are going to be doing with this. So each week, okay, and this is all going to be on the classroom. I'm going to hesitate, I'm not going to give it to you in paper because I want you to look on the classroom, okay? You are going to do a weekly journal, okay, that will be turned in on Fridays, okay? In that weekly journal, you are going to write a plot summary for each scene. Okay, so we're going to be doing 1 act a week. I think there's 5 acts. We might do 2 acts the final week, depending on what our time is before Christmas, okay? And in each act, there are like 4-ish scenes, okay? So you're gonna write a short little plot summary. What happened? Basically, in your own words, what happened in a paragraph.
Basically what we did for Romeo and Juliet.
Exactly, okay? It's going to be very much what you did for Romeo and Juliet. You are going to note any allusions. You'll have a second section for this and their meaning. And what I would recommend is do it scene by scene, okay? So scene 1, give me your summary, give me your allusions, and the other things, okay? Scene 2, summary, allusions. So you guys know what allusions are, right? Allusions to other historical, literary, biblical allusions, okay? The third thing that will be part of your journal is development of themes. Like I said, this will all be on the classroom, but I want to explain it so that you have heard this before. Development of themes. We're going to talk a little bit about themes in just a minute. I'm going to leave a space there. And the fourth part of the journal is use of symbols / motifs, which we will also talk about. Okay. In addition, for each scene, you're going to have a weekly quote analysis. There are like 4 quotes to choose from for every act, not scene. For every act, you choose 1 quote and you tell who said it, where it was in the story, and what it means. Okay, this will all be on the classroom. It will all be really clear, okay? And then there's going to be discussion questions for each act. Now, this sounds like a lot. The acts are very short, okay? They're not, it's like the first week you only have like, I think it's like 38 pages of reading. And it's like 38 pages is actually only like 19 pages of Shakespeare and 19 pages of English that say the same thing, okay? So it's not a huge amount of content, okay? So plot summary for each scene. So that means that you're going to have like 4 sections in your journal, 1 for each scene, okay? Note any allusions in their meaning. Discuss the development of themes. Now, within, so a theme, okay, let's talk about what a theme means. Theme is a fundamental or universal idea explored in a literary work. And so the themes that you're going to be looking for are social grace, okay? That would be things like the one guy, Don Pedro goes and courts Hero for Claudio because it would not be appropriate for him to do that. What's appropriate and not appropriate? What's socially acceptable? Okay, what is the social customs of the time? Okay, that would be social grace. Things about reputation, okay? Deception. Deception particularly as a means to an end. Not necessarily to be mean, but so there's going to be some deception going on with Beatrice and Benedict's friends trying to deceive them so that they fall in love with each other, okay? So they're going to be some Cupid, some matchmaking going on, okay? Honor, which of course would make sense because there's like soldiers in war, right? So we're going to have the theme of honor. The game of love. And appearance. versus reality, okay? What does it appear is going on versus what is really going on, okay? And as we explore the story together, you're gonna see these, you're gonna get it more. So the first act, you're gonna be like, what is she talking about? But you'll kind of start to see those things as we go on, okay? Use of symbols, okay? So how is a symbol or a motif different than a theme? Anyone know? I'm going to look up my good definition for you so I can try to explain it well. A symbol is just something that recurs frequently, okay, and has a meaning attached to it. Let's see. Recurring structures, contrasts, or literary devices that help to develop the themes. Okay, and so I'm going to tell you what the symbols and motifs are here. We've got public shaming, okay? So public shaming is probably going to kind of develop the theme of social grace. So when someone does something inappropriate, they're going to be publicly shamed, okay? So that's the whole idea of keeping a good reputation. Noting. Now this is an important one. This simply means overhearing. Okay, so if you overhear something and you maybe misinterpret it, which causes a whole miscommunication, or vice versa, someone particularly wants you to eavesdrop on something so that you come to a certain conclusion, okay? That would fit with this whole deception as a means to an end. So people purposely trying to be overheard in a conversation to cause miscommunication, which throws all sorts of things into a tizzy, okay? And this is an interesting thing. The title, originally, as it is pronounced, would have been Much Ado About, this would have been pronounced noting, not nothing, okay? So I thought is that really the title should be Much Ado About Noting, or overhearing and miscommunication, okay, instead of nothing. Okay, entertainment. One of the weird symbols is wild animals, okay? Particularly the taming of wild animals. Counterfeit or counterfeiting, be faking in some way. And war, which that would fit with the whole theme of honor, right? So this is kind of your general assignment for the week. Now there will be other additional projects. Like one of the things that I did with my classes before, and I need to decide, and I need to maybe get feedback from you and your parents. One of the things that we did a couple years ago was a Facebook assignment where I made a special group that was our Much Ado About Nothing group, and the students each chose a person in the story to be that person, and then we had conversations and things on there and insulted each other and so you made a profile, like a Facebook profile of your character for Much Ado About Nothing. It was super fun. The kids had a great time with it because they loved insulting each other online. So how many people would say, yes, I want to do that, or I don't think my mom would let me do that, or I absolutely don't want to do that? Okay, so I need a show of hands. Yes, I want to do that.
Wow. Oh, okay.
So all of you, okay, it was super fun. Okay, and it was not even a written work, and it was something that just kind of went on over the course of a couple weeks. How many of you don't think your parents would let you do that? Okay, cool, we're good. We'll do it. So Jacob and Ella and Nicholas, that's what we're going to be doing, and I'll give you details about that in a couple weeks. So basically, I just started as a private Facebook group. You join it, and you get to totally be a false person on there, and then when we're all done, we'll just delete the Facebook group. It was very, very fun, and it was, yeah, very funny. Okay. And so there will be a couple other little assignments like that. There'll be an assignment about Dogberryisms, because Dogberryisms are all the things that Dogberry says wrong, and what do they really mean, okay? And so there's some little tiny assignments in addition to this. But this is basically what we're gonna be doing for the next 5 weeks, okay? And there will be a test at the end, so you need to be paying attention and making sure you understand what's actually going on in the story. I will tell you the test is not hard if you actually pay attention in class. Okay, so it's not hard. Okay, we have 2 minutes left. I'm not going to let you go yet. I have this great little story I'm going to read to you as we go along. This is really funny
It's like
version.
the Romeo and Juliet one.
Yes, it's really funny. Much Ado About Nothing. And we're not going to get to read very much of it. So, some week, oh yes, please turn in your Shakespeare. Actually, Ada, will you collect all those for me? Yes. I have a story with an all-star cast, set in Sicily in times long past. Beatrice and Benedict, the heroes of my play, battle with words and wit every day. But I have a plan to unite the two that is intended to entertain you. So join me, my friends, under Messina's sky as Signor Benedict and his troop draw nigh. Okay, so here's some good illustrations for you, okay? These valiant soldiers were returning from war. Make sure you're listening. And all of Messina was in an uproar. Everywhere, excitement flared as entertainment was prepared. Leonato, the governor of the town, was there to greet these men of renown. Hero, his daughter, stood by his side. The thrill in her heart could not be denied. Beatrice, his niece, was also close by. A look of pleasure sparkled in her eye. As sounds of approaching horses grew loud, a rousing cheer echoed throughout the crowd. Don Pedro, Prince of Aragon, was in the lead, riding proud on his dappled steed. Benedict of Padua was the next they spied, with Count Claudio of Florence by his side. Don John, the prince's brother, was the last to appear. He's a bad guy, and with his attendants brought up the rear. The prince dismounted without delay. Leonato, do you come to greet trouble today? He gave the governor a hearty embrace. Leonato smiled, not trouble, but comfort, your grace. I think this is your daughter, said the prince, bowing low. Leonato laughed. Her mother hath many times told me so. Benedict smirked. Good sir, was there doubt in your mind? To Beatrice, his exchange was becoming unkind. She thought Benedict obnoxious and rude, and disliked his behavior and attitude. Still talking, Signor Benedict, no one listens to you, and a heated argument began to brew. Whenever they met, these two struck the wrong chord, and their stinging insults could not be ignored. Benedict's remark was no less forgiving. What, my dear Lady Disdain, are you yet living? Is it possible, Beatrice sneered and let out a sigh, with Signor Benedict to mock, Disdain should die? Benedict bragged, I am loved by all ladies except one. For truly, he continued, I love none. Beatrice countered in each insult blow for blow. I had rather hear my dark bark of a crow than a man swear he loves me or be so inclined. Benedict jeered, keep your ladyship in that frame of mind. I would my horse had the speed of your tongue, he taunted. I know all your tricks, she replied, undaunted. Don Pedro interrupted. Leonato's asked us to stay. We'll remain here at least a month from today. Then to Leonato, as the royal group departed, Claudio remarked with Benedict, feeling lighthearted. My friend, Claudio exclaimed, his eyes aglow. Did you take note of Leonato's daughter, Hero? She is the sweetest lady that I ever looked on, he sighed. I see no matter, Signor Benedict cried. If her cousin Beatrice did not hold such rage, she would outshine Hero on any stage. Claudio, I think your mind's in a haze. Hero is too short and tiny for such great praise. Would you buy her, my friend? Now don't be a fool. Claudio sighed. Can the world buy such a jewel? So there's Claudio in love. All right, that's all I'll read for you today. All right, you guys have a great week. Let me know if you have any questions. Final drafts due. I can also try to post a calendar, but I don't think it's really needed. We have class every week except for Thanksgiving all the way until December 11th. So Josiah, you got that?
All up to September 11th.
December
11th.
Okay. Except for Thanksgiving week. All right.
Are we allowed to